Have you ever wondered what truly happened in the Pride Lands during Scar's reign? The movie gives us glimpses, but the full story is far darker and more complex than what we see on screen. Welcome to Echoes of the Roar, where today we peeling back the layers of deception and despair to uncover the Pride Land's darkest hour. When Mufasa fell and Simba fled, a shadow fell over the kingdom. This wasn't just a change in leadership, it was the dawn of a terrifying new era. Scar, driven by years of jealousy and a thirst for power, ascended the throne. But he didn't do it alone. His pact with the hyenas, once banished to the desolate elephant graveyard, was the first domino to fall in a cascade of destruction. Imagine the scene. Scar, perched atop Pride Rock, announces a new beginning. He declares that lions and hyenas will live together, forging a new, inclusive society. To the grief-stricken lionesses, still reeling from the loss of both their king and their prince, this must have been a chilling proclamation. The hyenas, cackling and swarming into the lush grasslands, were not just new neighbors, they were an occupying force. The immediate impact was ecological chaos. The hyenas, with their insatiable appetites and reckless hunting methods, decimated the herds. The delicate balance of the circle of life, which Mufasa had so carefully maintained, was shattered. Overhunting led to scarcity. The once abundant plains withered and turned to dust. The rivers dried up, and the vibrant green of the Pride Lands faded to a barren, scale-tile gray. This wasn't just a drought. It was a man-made famine, orchestrated by a king who cared for nothing but his own gratification. But what about the lionesses, led by the proud and resilient Serabi? They were trapped. They had to hunt, not only for their own pride, but also for Scar and his ever-growing army of hyenas. Think about the pressure on them. Every hunt became more difficult as the herds dwindled. They had to venture further, risk more. Oh, for a tyrant who would likely just complain that their offerings weren't enough. Serabi, as the former queen, bore the brunt of Scar's cruelty. She was a living reminder of Mufasa's legacy, a symbol of the old ways that Scar despised. He constantly belittled her, mocked her, and tried to break her spirit. Their confrontations, which we only see a fraction of, were likely daily occurrences. She refused to bow completely, holding on to her dignity and trying to protect her pride. Her strength in the face of such tyranny is one of the most unsung aspects of the story. She was the heart of the resistance, however small. And what of Nala? She grew from a playful cub into a fierce huntress under this oppressive regime. She witnessed the slow starvation of her home. She saw the despair in Serabi's eyes and the fear in the other lionesses. It was this desperation that fueled her incredible journey to find help. Her escape wasn't just a whim. It was a calculated, life-threatening mission. She was the Pride's last hope, their final, desperate gamble to restore balance. When she left, she didn't know if she'd ever be able to return, or what she would find if she did. Let's talk more about Scar Sakali. He wasn't just a bad king. He was a deeply insecure and narcissistic ruler. Having the throne wasn't enough. He needed to be adored, to be revered like Mufasa was. But he ruled through fear, not respect. The hyenas followed him out of convenience, not loyalty. The lionesses obeyed him out of necessity, not love. This lack of genuine admiration ate away at him. His infamous song, "Be Prepared," wasn't just a plan. It was a window into his mind. He envisioned a world that bowed to his intellect and power. Yet, in reality, he was a lazy and ineffective leader. He lounged on Pride Rock, complaining and demanding more, while his kingdom crumbled around him. He took no responsibility for the famine, instead blaming the lionesses for not hunting well enough. This is classic gaslighting, a tactic used by abusers to maintain control by warping their victims' sense of reality. The lionesses weren't failing. His policies were. The social structure of the Pride Lands completely inverted. The hyenas, once outcasts, were now the privileged class. They had first dibs on all food and resources, leaving the lionesses the rightful inhabitants and traditional providers with scraps. This created a powder keg of resentment. Skirmishes and fights must have been common. The hyenas, emboldened by Scar's protection, would have relentlessly tormented the lionesses, asserting their newfound dominance in the cruelest ways. Consider Zazu Mufasa's trusted majordomo, a symbol of order and royal protocol, was reduced to a caged jester. Scar kept him imprisoned, forcing him to sing songs for his amusement. This was a deliberate act of humiliation. Bikahing Sasuska was symbolically caging the old laws, the old traditions, and the memory of Mufasa's just rule. Zazu's cage was a microcosm of the entire Pride Lands. Trapped, silenced, and forced to entertain a tyrant. And we can't forget Rafiki, the wise mandrill, the keeper of the kingdom's spiritual balance, retreated into his tree. He wasn't idle, though he was watching, waiting, and mourning. He felt the imbalance in the very wind. His home, a vibrant baobab tree, likely felt like a lonely fortress amidst the decay. He was keeping the memory of Simba alive, painting his image on the wall, honing on to the hope that the true king would one day return. His moment of revelation, when the wind carries Simba sent to him, is the turning point. It's the moment hope is rekindled not just for him, but for the fate of the entire kingdom. The years passed. A generation of animals grew up knowing nothing but hardship and fear. The stories of Mufasa's reign would have been passed down in whispers, like myths of a long-lost golden age. For them, a green and bountiful Pride Lands was just a fantasy. This is the world Simba returns to. It's not just his childhood home. It's a post-apocalyptic wasteland haunted by the ghost of his father and the tyranny of his uncle. When Simba finally confronts Scar, it's more than just a family feud. It's a clash of ideologies. It's the circle of life versus the philosophy of take whatever you want. It's order versus chaos, the final battle, set against the backdrop of a lightning storm and raging fire, is the physical manifestation of the turmoil that had been brewing for years. The Lionesses, starved and oppressed for so long, finally rise up. They fight with a ferocity born of desperation and a deep-seated desire to reclaim their home. Scar's downfall is poetic justice. In his final moments, desperate to save his own skin, he betrays the very allies who brought him to power. He blames the hyenas, calling them the real enemy. But they hear him. His manipulative words, which had worked for him his entire life, are his final undoing. The hyenas, who followed him for the promise of a full belly, turn on him when they realize his loyalty was only to himself. He is consumed by the very chaos he unleashed. The aftermath of Scar's reign wouldn't have been an instant fix. The healing of the land would have taken time. The herds would have to return. Trust would need to be rebuilt. And the psychological scars on the pride would take years to fade. Simba, stepping into his role as king, had the monumental task of not just ruling, but rebuilding an entire ecosystem and a broken society from the ashes. So, the darkest hour of the Pride Lands wasn't just a physical drought. It was a spiritual and social decay. A terrifying lesson in how quickly a paradise can be lost when leadership is driven by jealousy and a lust for power. It's a story of survival, resilience, and the undying hope that even in the deepest darkness, the sun will one day rise again. What do you think is the most tragic part of Scar's reign? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more echoes of the roar. See you next time.